Welcome back to the Rainmaker Podcast. I am so excited for this next episode. Why? It is history in the making. This is the first episode I've ever recorded live, and it wasn't for just anyone. It was for Brandon Marshall, former NFL player, 6-time Pro Bowler, mental health advocate, TV personality, and then so. We talked about marketing. We talked about branding. We talked about mental health. We talked about what it is to be on the receiving side of a brand wanting to do work with you and what he looks for. Like the amount of detail that he got into and the vulnerability that he disclosed. You're going to love this episode. So please welcome my next guest, Brandon Marshall. Brandon, welcome to the podcast.
We're here.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking before I got here, I'm like, because you called me Mimi when we first met. And I'm like, what are your nicknames? So I found B.
Because your son calls you Mimi, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
B Marsh, the Beast, Killmonger.
Killmonger.
I saw that.
No,
I really did.
Killmonger.
In the Black Panther movie.
Really?
They called you that. Yeah.
I gotta research that. Hopefully, it's a good thing.
What?
Did he survive? It was
played by Michael B. Jordan, which is not a bad person to be compared to, sir.
It's not, but he was the bad guy.
Yeah, but we all rooted for the bad guy because it was Michael B. Jordan.
Okay, I'll take.
You'll
that.
take it. But do you go by B Marsh? Like, which one is like your family calls you? Like those that closest to you call you?
My family calls me B.
Okay.
Yeah, B.
Yeah.
And friends.
Yeah.
And then in the football world is B Marsh.
Right. I caught that when I think Tyreek Hill said that to you.
Yeah, B Marsh. Right. Like I don't know why we do that in sports. We want to combine both names, right? B Marsh.
B Marsh. Okay. Yeah. True or false? Because I swear I saw this. Your face was in the backdrop of the Eagles locker room after the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, I have to know the story.
Yeah.
You, I literally saw, I'm pretty sure that's Brandon. And how is Brandon in the locker room? What connection? How did you get there?
You want me to tell that story now? I don't know if I'm ready to tell that story.
Okay.
Because it's about hustle. It's about business, right? And I wasn't supposed to be in there.
Oh.
And, so I didn't have the credentials to be in there.
Okay.
And when you're in startup and you're building something, you have to find a way.
Yeah.
And I just talked my way in there, right? More so past the security.
Okay.
But once I got past security, the team personality was like, oh, yeah, B, come in. And it was the dopest, coolest experience, right? Yeah. Like they allowed me to be a part of that moment.
Yeah.
So to get back there, I had to hustle a little bit, right? And I went this way, got blocked, went around this way, found a way.
Yeah.
And then once I got in that hallway, right, they were like,
yeah,
B, come in.
Why did you hustle that hard to be in that room at that time? Why was that important to you, if you don't mind sharing?
I feel you have to knock down doors before they start opening up.
Yeah.
And so that's just knocking down doors. You think about the hustle. There's so many men and women that have built amazing things that had to be scrappy and find a way, right? Like even to get an interview, it's like the follow-up, the chase, right? The creativity. And so you have to be scrappy. And once you break down that door, what ended up happening is people start inviting you, right? But they have to see it. I had this amazing moment with Rihanna. Perfect example, going back to the Super Bowl. 2 Super Bowls ago, we were in Phoenix, and it was the Rihanna Super Bowl.
Yeah, where she was pregnant, announced her pregnancy.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the Apple Music interview or conversation before the actual event, I found a way to get back there. I wasn't supposed to be back there.
Of course you did.
Right? So now I'm sitting in the hallway, and she's about to come out. I knew some people from Rock Nation, her management arm.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, Emery, like, you think she'll stop and give me a second? It's like, I don't know, ask her. Right? So she comes around the corner and we look right at each other. And I just went like, hey, and she walked straight to me. Now she's supposed to go
right. She's got somewhere to go.
To go out there, she came right to me.
Yeah.
And I asked her this amazing question, and just like that, 6 million views. Right. So I say that to say this, right? That experience gave me the opportunity to be invited and have credentials this Super Bowl. So I was actually there at the Kendrick conversation, Apple Music conversation, and I had credentials, and I was able to walk anywhere I wanted to go.
Yeah. The reason that I ask, other than just like pure curiosity, and also because I think it was so cute to see your face in all of these clips. I'm like, what's he doing? Like just having the best like time of your life, right? But the reason I bring this up, kind of going back to when I first saw you speak, is that you're really open about like the dynamic and the relationship between the league and players. And so I think it's fascinating. Like I think the league has a very unique relationship while you're playing. Then the relationship changes when you're no longer playing. And you're also behind the scenes in business transactions with the same entity.
That's right.
So like your relationship is growing with this being. I mean, it's the NFL, but I talk about it like it's a person because it has like that personification feeling to me. Yep. So that's why I wanted to ask, like, how has your relationship and your identity simultaneously changed with this juggernaut of a brand?
It's difficult. It's complex.
Yeah.
It's one of my most challenging relationships because I'm a player.
Right.
And you have the Players Association, the union, and we have this battle and this dance that we do with the owners, right? And I'm always player first. Everything I do, even on our platform, I Am Athlete, that is a safe place for athletes. So I'm always going to I'm going to look at the player's perspective. But to create what I'm trying to create and build what we're trying to build, you have to have amazing relationships, right? So instead of fighting the NFL, right, like I have to find ways to partner with them while staying true to myself. That's why I say it's very difficult, one of the most complex things for me, because I am who I am, right? But then I'm able to still go in the room and say, let's do this YouTube deal. Stand up for the players. When I played, you guys rolled out the red carpet for me. We did everything, right? You guys gave me access, right?
Yeah.
We say football is family.
Yeah.
So now post-career, I'm struggling to get credentials or access. And so I'm the guy usually on the front line that is in the league office, sitting down with the commissioner or Ian, VP of marketing, Tim Ellis, Tracy Perlman, you know, and having these conversations. And I've grown and matured to do it in a very healthy, professional way. Before it was like so emotional.
Oh, okay.
Now it's, hey guys, here's what I'm feeling. I think this is an opportunity for us as players, right? While also being myself. There's times like, why did we post that way? I don't think that highlights the player fairly.
Interesting.
Right? So it's very complex, but, you know, because I'm a wide receiver and I come from a place where it's, you know, it's emotional. It's a lot of passion, right? But do we have the skills and tools to be able to communicate and navigate through difficult conversations or express yourself in a way where it's healthy, it's comfortable, and there's resolution, right? And so I had to grow and learn to do that. And now in business, oh my goodness, it's the most challenging thing, right? Negotiating deals with big brands, athletes, and being able to put the emotion to the side and focus on the business. Yeah. That's been one of my biggest learning lessons or biggest projects.
Growth. Yeah.
There you go.
This is interesting to me, going off script a little bit, but for me, I'm like, I think the NFL is one of the best storytellers that I've ever seen. Like if you follow any of the teams on social media or the NFL films, content or anything like that, like they leverage emotion better than most. The tears, the anger, the passion, the screaming, the fighting, right? So, and specifically from players, even like between each other. But then when you're behind the camera, you can't take that same persona to that same meeting. Do you, like, at what point did you realize that you had to chameleon yourself to the environment?
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't translate.
It's still a process. The things that make me great and made me great on the field was hurting me off the field, right? In life,
that's tough.
It's better and healthier to respond than react. I've heard this before. So what is responding? Responding is pausing, thinking, you know, It's where critical thinking come in, looking at different approaches or perspectives. All right. On the field, you have to react. I don't have time.
In seconds.
Yeah, I'm running this way. This guy's running 22 miles per hour. He weighs 225 pounds. I have to make a decision, right? Split second. Yeah. Right. And so those things make me great. But where did those traits come from? Actually, my neighborhood. Right. Right. When you go out, coming from where I come from, you go outside this door, right? You're in elementary school. If I go down this street, I may be fighting. If I go down this street, and who knows what can happen. You had this feeling of like survival or life or death, right? In elementary school. So you, right now, you have to respond. I mean, you have to react right now. So that carried over to the league and on the field, right? Making decisions quickly. Now, to your point, in business, you have to sit back and take your time. You have to pause. So I would say year 5 is when it started to come together for me.
Year 5 post-playing?
No, in the league.
In the league.
So that was and I'm still on that journey. Got it. Right? Okay. Because these are things that's just innate. These are things that I've been doing since I was a baby. Yeah. Right? That's why I went back to childhood. Yeah. All this stuff works together. But those things that made me great was also painful at times, right? Or came from pain. So year 5, I ended up at McLean Hospital in an outpatient program, and I was in dialectical behavior therapy, self-assessment. I was in cognitive behavior therapy. I was in mentalization therapy. So these are group therapies. I was there Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. Wow. Right? One-on-one with the great Dr. Gunderson. And so that's when we start peeling back those layers, and I start understanding the power of the mind and the brain. But before we even got into any diagnosis or any type of treatment plan, I went through a clinical evaluation and neurological evaluation. Yeah. Clinical evaluation, you sit down for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and there's 200 to 300, like 250 to 300 questions, right? Wow. Now, what are you dealing with? What's going on, right? Neurological evaluation is important too, because we want to see, like, is this person even capable of change? What's going on? What's going on with their brain? Yeah. How are they wired? How do they think? How do they process? And what came out of that for me was...
So, like, vulnerable, naked, emotional.
Yeah, and what came out for me was, listen, when you don't know, you're going to just run into that same door, that same wall 5 or 6 times. But when you figure it out, it's like, boom, you got it. Yeah. Right? So whether that's a play or that's a challenge in business, that's a challenge in life, right? Like, I learned how my brain works. And so, when we talk about when did I get it, like, I didn't know there was a challenge. So being able to go to McLean Hospital, starting with that neurological evaluation and that clinical evaluation, and then going through 3 months of just working and peeling back those layers, I started to understand the power of thinking, of pausing, of breathing, right? Yeah. And, that was over, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, whatever it is.
Can I ask, timeline-wise, is this before inside the NFL, or like where does that sync up?
This is before.
Before. Do you think that you would have had the success on inside the NFL had you not gone through that?
I wouldn't have gotten a job. Okay. So success, I wouldn't have had the opportunity. Right. Remember, like, like all my interpersonal relationships, my wife, family, teammates, just toxic, terrible, right? What I was feeling was real, but how I responded to things were off, right? It's volatile. And so, people started to put me to the side, like, we can't deal with him, or he's not even someone we want to work with, right? From a brand standpoint. They'll put up with you from a ball standpoint until they don't have to put up with you. But then you mess up opportunities like inside the NFLs or a Nike deal or Reebok deal, etc. So actually when I got the offer from Steven Espinoza, the president at the time of Showtime Sports, he had to stand on the table for me. And the exact words out of the league office was, we're not sure we want him representing our brand. I was in the NFL. right?
Yeah, but not in that capacity.
Right.
Right.
So Steven Espinoza stood on the table for me, but it's the work that I was doing there,
Yeah.
right? So Steven saw it. He put me in position. After that, I ended up getting my first like commercial through the NFL because of them seeing me in a different light, right? I had a platform, I had a voice, right? And they were seeing it, and I was using a platform to talk about mental health. So I leaned in. I didn't run from it. I leaned into it.
Yeah, it wasn't a blip.
That's right. So yeah, I became, the first, that was first active athlete to do full-time broadcasting, but I used the platform to highlight mental health. And the only reason why I did inside the NFL is because I spent my offseason at Harvard in 2014, building out a case study on transition, and content and commerce came out of that.
Yeah.
So I went on tour. I said, every offseason until I retire, I'm going to go on tour. So when I transition, I already have a gig, right? All right. So we studied Magic Johnson, Keanu Reeves, Boomer Esiason, Doug Flutie, Magic J. Fox, like athletes, artists that transcended the field, the court, or the big screen and pushed back to the mental health community. Magic Johnson stood out to me. That's where content was. I couldn't understand, why is this guy on television when he's pushing at a couple $100 million at the time worth that? I didn't know, why are you talking about basketball? I love the business model around Live Strong. So that's how I got to content commerce. And then we said we're going to go on tour. And the very first time out, right, CAA WME called me like, hey, you're brilliant. We love you. We just saw you on ESPN debating Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
A couple months later, Josh Pyatt brings me this deal from Showtime. What? It's unheard of. Like, I'm playing for the Chicago Bears. So you mean on my off day fly to New York?
That's wild.
Right? And so I did it not to talk sports. I did it to do what Magic Johnson did.
Yeah.
Keep his name relevant, have a voice to push back to HIV and AIDS for him, mental health for me, right? And so I'm saying all that because that gig allowed me to morph into where I am today, mental health champion, advocate, so many opportunities to help in that area. And now it's like the media business is like it's a real thing.
I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a marketer. So this is where I get real nerdy real quick. I wanted to ask you, like, when did you realize that you were a media entity? And also, can you define what that is? Because I think people define that differently in my space. It's not the same thing as being a pretty face, an influencer, or whatever. So, like, when you say players or media entities, like, what does that mean to you? Like, legitimately, your point of view, your definition.
Yes. So I didn't realize that I was a media entity until I started my podcast.
Okay.
And then that podcast turned into a network.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
When I start understanding the business around production, advertising, right? That's when I realized, like, we operate and function. We can operate and function just like networks. Because when you look at it, advertisers, which, is the bloodline of media, right? They're buying spots and dots. They want reach. Players have reach. You have players now and artists that have millions of followers.
Yeah.
Right? So if you actually package up, all of our platforms digitally, and you actually approach it like a network, right? Your deals actually are bigger. So instead of approaching me as an athlete, approach me like a media entity. I always say it that way because the brands shouldn't do that because the deals are different, right? Athlete, if let's say Reebok comes to me, Brandon, we love you. Okay. We want to do a deal with you, wide receiver. It's $300,000. Now, if I do business with them and I say, listen, I have 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Okay.
I have 1 million subscribers, 700,000 on Instagram, couple 100,000 on Facebook, couple 100,000 over here, and then I reach X, Y, and Z. If I understand my KPIs and metrics there, right? And I sell that $300,000, $400,000 Reebok deal turns into $4 million. Because what is it about? Reach. It's about, right, their return on investment. And I ask brands this all the time, which they get blown away. These are simple things, right? These are just like fundamentals in business. But as an athlete sitting at the table, sometimes sometimes you mess up the deal because you know too much.
Okay.
Meaning, when I sit at the table and I'm like, what are you, so you're investing $1 into me. What's success for you? Is it 2 to 1? Is it 3 to 1? Like, what are you trying to get here?
Yeah.
Is it just brand awareness?
Yeah.
Right? Can you share with me your lifetime value of your customer? Because if I'm driving all this traffic, right, I need to be able to track this. Mm-hmm. So if I'm driving all this traffic mm-hmm. to you, knowing that, you guys convert 3%,
Sure.
And then your lifetime value mm-hmm. is 1,000. Mm-hmm. Now let's add all this up. So you invested, X into me, but now you brought in $1 million. That's a little lopsided, mm-hmm. right? But there's also been times where I looked at that and I'm like, you paid me too much because you're not getting the return. Mm-hmm. We're not hitting the numbers.
Mm-hmm. And not immediately, right?
Well,
because there could be a time lag on return.
Correct.
That's the other thing too, right? Depending on the nature of the campaign or what assets you put out.
See, I don't want to see now this is shifting. Is it getting nerdy? I love this conversation, right? And these are the things that I had to teach myself and learn, right? On YouTube, Googling now, ChatGPT, listening to podcasts like yours, right? Where brands coming in, they want immediate return.
Okay.
Where we're at, we're educating brands that, to integrate into our audience, into our platform, it may take 3 to 4 months to introduce you to our audience where it's organic and real. So we have to go on this journey, right? Because what brands will do a lot of times say, hey, we're going to invest in you right now. And then in month 2 or 3, I'm like, the return's not there. Of course it's not, right? Because this is not how it works digitally. Spots and dots, traditional, linear is total. It's a different game than working with influencer athletes on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
This is the thing that bothers me deeply about influencer marketing, is that I feel like oftentimes brands are approaching these personalities who have audiences, and they look at it almost like, instead of investing my money with like Facebook advertising and putting my dollars on an Instagram ad or a Meta ad, I'm going to give it to this person because they have 500,000 followers. Yes. And like, okay. And they look at it almost like that, and they're evaluating a return on ad spend in that same like window of transaction. What bothers me deeply is that I believe the personalities, regardless of their audience size, they look at their audiences not as transactional human beings, but as relationships, individual relationships. So you're not monetizing somebody's audience. At least that's, I feel like, how they mostly approach it, and it bothers me. Versus like, no, you're asking Brandon to introduce you to somebody that he cares about, because it's not just his audience, it's his relationship with this group of people that are following him, inspired by him, like want to maybe like make life changes because of his example.
Yes.
I'm not going to introduce you to anybody that I care about unless I know you're the real deal. And so you're right. It's a warming up. It takes time, right? And so that's the part that I think that's the disconnect for me, is they look at you just as another like distribution platform versus they're asking you if you trust them enough to introduce them to people you care about.
Right. And the challenge, right? Marketing. What's the turnover rate for a CMO?
Oh, don't even get me started.
There you go. And that's the challenge.
Yeah.
We need it now.
Yeah.
Right?
They're the most churned out chief in the entire executive suite.
So they need it right now. And, CFOs, CEOs never understand it. So we're investing what and what's the ROI? Sometimes you can't feel it. You don't understand it, especially when you go from marketing to branding. Branding, it's like they don't understand the value there. They don't understand the return.
Yeah.
So that's why we see that, and it trickles down to how we do deals and how we structure things with influencers. And so what we have to do from the bottom, and take it up, is teach and train and also be disciplined. This deal's not going to work for me. because what's going to happen in 3 months, you're not going to be happy. My audience is going to say, here you go again, throw something else in my face. And it's just going to be all bad. And now you're messing up my platform.
You're diluting it.
There you go.
They know you sold out. Your people know you sold out.
Can't do it. So like, you know, it's all about lifestyle. That's what's working. Organic, real, that overproduce is lifestyle. The way it should look is, this is what I am using. Yeah. This is what I like to wear. This is what I like to drink. You know, I think you guys should also, you know, try it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's very like, that would be terrible. A terrible marketing strategy there. But you understand what I'm trying to say.
I was going to ask you what your, again, just out of my own curiosity, like
our creative approach, excuse me. That's what I want to say. That would have been terrible. What wouldn't seal the deal. But it is that simple.
When you're evaluating a deal, whether 2 ways. One, a brand's approaching you proactively with like what they would like to see happen, or you are mentoring another athlete within the walls of your organization and they're being approached by a brand.
Yep.
What is the compass for you? When people ask me, because I get this question all the time. Well, for sure. But people ask me all the time, like, how do you know if it's time to go? Like when you're in your job, I'm like, well, I have my 3 pillars. Like I have my 3 checkpoints, right? That I always go through. And if any one of those are in the red, it's time to go, right? So I had that for myself when I'm evaluating like transitions in my life. What is that like compass for you when you're evaluating brand deals for yourself or those you mentor to?
It all goes to that one thing. It's purpose. Goes back to that case study.
Okay.
Right? Like you said, here's my 3 things. Yeah. So it goes back to that, like, purpose. What am I here for?
Okay.
I truly believe I'm here to be one of the men and women on the front line to bridge the gap in the mental health community. Right? So when I did that work, if the solution and their suggestion was go to the deepest depths of the ocean, right? And then that's how you're going to solve this problem in the mental health community. I would be trying to do that. I'd be in a submarine trying to figure it out.
James
right?
Cameron yourself.
Yeah, seriously. But that wasn't the suggestion. The suggestion was content and commerce. So that's what I'm doing. So now when I sit down with brands, it's like McDonald's is a perfect example.
Yeah.
We had this legendary season on our platform where it was Ocho versus science, right? And Ocho loves McDonald's. I'm science, right? Like what we're putting in our bodies, how are we eating, how we're sleeping. So you have these competing like
ideologies.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so Cam Newton came on our platform and I said, this is how it was. I said, yo, man, me and Ocho been going back and forth about this. Who you got? Ocho versus science. Boom.
That was it.
And then the debate started.
Yeah.
In every show we started this thing. Then a t-shirt, right? Merchandise.
Love that.
And then McDonald's came.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about McDonald's, like, hey, we want to do a deal. And I said, it doesn't make sense for the platform. It doesn't make sense for me, but it makes sense for Ocho, right? But I can't do this brand deal because I am a science guy.
And I don't eat you.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
Now I can do a deal with McDonald's, right? This is where it makes sense because it's like, oh my goodness, $1 million,
that you're saying.
right? How does it make sense? Well, can we add a healthy part to the menu?
Okay.
Right? Is that where we can lean in?
Okay.
Can we educate? Can we teach?
Okay.
Right? So I think that there's ways of doing it, but you have to stay in your lane, and everything that we do should come from purpose. Like we shouldn't be chasing money. We shouldn't be chasing, this thing or that thing. We are all here to solve a problem, to make the world better. What is that? Do that. Do what you're supposed to do, and the money will follow. So that's what I'm doing. I'm making, which it's not all profit, right? Get into business, healthy EBITDA, but at the time when I was playing, I was the highest paid wide receiver, right? When I did my first deal. And so I became the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history.
It's amazing.
And I was making, thank you, blessed, $10 million a year.
Yeah.
I did that in year 3.
Yeah.
Right? Now that's revenue. That's not all profit.
Of course.
Right. So,
Yeah.
you know, that I'm saying that to highlight what the statement I just made, and that's the money will follow.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I love what I do. Now, I didn't expect the challenges of like, you know, there's things that you have to learn in entrepreneurship. Building
Nobody would do it if they knew what it took or what was required. It's so hard. I tell my husband this. I think there's in my house, I'm like, I don't know if parenthood and marriage or entrepreneurship is more humbling. They compete every day for me in my life. Those three are the ones that will bring me to my knees in humility.
Rank them. I think it's entrepreneurship.
You think it is? They take turns for me.
So
different seasons.
The most important decision you're gonna make is who you choose to do the rest of your life with.
Oh, yes.
Right. And then it's like, how do you become one? And that's a part of it, right? Like if you're an entrepreneur, your husband's an entrepreneur, right? Like you have to understand that spirit.
Yeah.
Or if other things, right? So you have to become one and understand that.
Yeah.
Because if that's not right, then what happens in the profession is so tough. And then those things aren't aligned, the children are affected how we show up. So those three things, you're absolutely right. Let me ask you this question. Can you teach entrepreneurship? Like, can you train someone to be a successful entrepreneur, or is it, I'm born with this?
I'll be honest. It's a good question. Nature, nurture, right? Where is an entrepreneur born? I think it's a combination. It can be both, but I will say the majority of entrepreneurs that I know who've stood the test of time through all of the shit, it's nature. They were born that way. We were just having this conversation before you walked in. I've been in so many business groups where they'll even ask, how many of you are the oldest kid? And majority of the room will raise their hand.
Really?
It's not always the case, but why do you think the oldest child is more likely to go into entrepreneurship than the other kids?
Because they were there first and they had to figure it out.
All of that. Yeah. I'm the oldest, right? My parents are Cuban immigrants. I was the guinea pig. I'm the first kid born in the States. And so, not that I'm trying to please my parents, they've never put that burden on me, but I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't carry the mantle of making their sacrifices worth it. And so then to take that type of mantle and then have it like quelched inside of a corporate structure is very challenging. Entrepreneurship, there is no ceiling. And not that I'm a gamer, but it's gamification every day. Yeah. Every day I could level up. I can go from level 20 to with parenthood right now, it's like Groundhog Day. Every day we're having the same damn fight. Like, eat your food, brush your teeth.
Me too.
Why? Like, why? We talk about this every day.
Oh my goodness.
Like, James, brush your teeth. Why did it? When did you brush your teeth? Yesterday. No, today. So like, children right now is Groundhog Day. Entrepreneurship is gamification, and my poor marriage is like hanging on all of it. So it depends on the season.
Yes.
But entrepreneurship, like it is constant growth edges. And I think you have to be slightly psychotic to like it, because you have to, for me, it's being a gladiator in the arena. Like, you have to have some level of an addiction to high pressure situations where you're the best in them. And I'm not an athlete, but when I hear athletes talk like that, I'm like, I totally understand what you're talking about.
So we're in a tough spot right now. I mean, it's just it's business, right?
It's one off, sorry.
But it's one of my most challenging moments in business. And so I was just on, like I told you, with my therapist earlier. And
thanks for saying that out loud, by the way, just for sharing.
Sure. And she's like challenging me. And I'm like, right now, I do not need to be challenged. I need love and nurturing. That's what I need right now. Like, literally, over the last couple of weeks, I've been saying this, right?
Yeah.
But she's like, challenge me. This is where you grow.
Yeah.
Right?
Just need to behold.
She's asking me how I'm responding to things, right? I had a moment with someone at Einstein Bagels, and it wasn't a great moment, but it was like a terrible day. And I walked in, and they just gave me so much stuff, and it just became this back and forth.
Yeah.
And so we were unpacking that. And so that was last week. This week, she's like, all right, how are you responding? What's going on? And I'm like, I'm good. I'm great. She's like, well, last week. I said, well, that was last week.
Yeah.
I said, now everything's on the line. Like, talk about athlete and pressure. It's like, it's fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It's got to have it moment.
Yeah.
2-minute drill.
Yeah.
Are you going to rise up to the occasion? So I'm like, no, I'm good. Well, all these things are I'm good. This is high pressure. So it goes back to what you're saying. Like, you rise to that occasion.
You.
2-minute drill is like, I used to take a deep breath. All right, this is football. I played 13 years, guys, in the National Football League. And 2-minute drills, like at the end of the game, you're close. You may be down by 3, maybe down by 6. And there's a gap. We call gotta have it moment, right? And so
I'm get like jet lag.
how did I prepare? Yeah, like how did I, like I had to like prepare for that moment. Like I went into a different type of mindset.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I would take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I would acknowledge the moment, embrace the moment. Because now once I did that, I said nothing else matters. Meaning as a wide receiver, if I had to run a 20-yard in cut and the safety was coming and he was going to hit me, I would say it is what it is, right? It's got to have it moment. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't do that in any other moment outside of that moment. It's tough, physical. People feared me, but I was very smart in how I played in moments. That moment, it was like, all right, they break a rib, they're going to break a rib, but I got to have this ball. I got to have this ball.
They break a
So
rib.
now I'm taking that and I'm applying that to business.
Exactly. I think this is why I'm a woman, clearly, but I'm obsessed with the NFL. I don't know if you knew that. Like, I'm obsessed. And also, it's the fact that I birthed boys didn't help that situation because now they are obsessed with football. We're going from, they just played their first season of tackle.
Oh, wow. 11-8.
Yes. Like, and I mean, mind you, their bodies are this big and their helmets are this big and like they're just running bobbleheads.
Yeah.
But like, my son got laid out. He went to go like receive, like, you know, they just kicked it across the field and he went to go receive it and it took too long in the air. And so he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And he finally puts it in his hands and he gets slammed.
Oof.
Slammed, knocked out, like not knocked out, but he didn't move.
Yeah.
My husband comes running on the field. I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? I'm like, give me a sign, give me a sign. And then like minutes later, which felt like an eternity as a mother, he pops off. He had this enormous bruise, but they gave him the gold chain of the game. And he wore that to school every day for an entire week until the next game. And I'm like, you know what? Hell yes. So, like, I'm that mother. Like, I needed to like calm down. So proud of him. But like watching the boys play now, I'm just like, ugh. So I think that's why like I have such an affection for sports analogies, sports scenarios. I think there's a reason that oftentimes business leaders will reference sports plays and sports moments because the parallels are so, which is why I get sad when I see players not be as business savvy because I do think it can be such a transferable energy if they learned how to harness it better.
So you said a few things there. So sports, it teaches you things that you can't get anywhere else, right? Perseverance, work ethic, teamwork, how to deal with winning, how to deal with losing, how to deal with so many things, right? Then when you talk about athlete to businessman or women, what I did in the prime of my career, I went into the negotiating room, right? So I went in there and I said, first I went to my agent. I said, listen, I want these reps.
Boom. You sought it out.
I said, I want these reps because I'm going to be able to use it post football.
Smart.
So I wanted to do it, right? I'm looking around like this is one of the most successful businesses on the planet. You know, at the time it was a $10 billion industry. Now it's $16-20 billion, right? Multi-million-dollar athletes. Why am I not on these calls, in these rooms when we're talking about my 4-year, $50 million deal, my 3-year, $30 million deal?
Yeah.
I need those reps.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I want to feel it.
Yeah.
And so he said, no problem, of course.
But you're the exception, correct?
Yes and no. I think that, I think now every generation is supposed to get better.
Okay.
And athletes were more sophisticated, smarter, savvier than we've ever been.
Awesome.
So there's some savvy athletes out there, some savvy families out there, but there are missed opportunities. It is a challenge. Yes, I am the exception because like I say this, I believe I am. Give me 3 of the greatest entrepreneurs ever, like some of the greatest men and women.
The goats of goats,
Give me
the Steve Jobs of the world, the Jeff
Jobs.
Bezos of the world. I mean, like, that's what you're talking about?
I'm in that category. So what I just did right now, right? Like, what you speak over your life is important, but I really believe it. So when you're like, oh, you're the exception, like, no, not really. No, yeah, no, athletes are sophisticated. We are smart, right? We're getting better. But I believe I'm at a different level when it comes to business. And I'm walking into that in this phase of my life.
Yeah.
And when I think about the comps out there, and when I look back, there's amazing men and women that's led some amazing churches and movements. Like, I'm like, all right, I'm studying them. I'm studying Steve. I'm studying Jeff Bezos.
Okay.
I'm studying the greatest, right? And that's where I believe I'm going to be in 5 years. So, yeah.
I think what I'm impressed most about you, first of all, clearly you seek out, you're an eternal learner. Like, I've never seen your Strength Finders findings, but like, you're clearly an eternal learner, which again, I think is nature, not nurture. Mm-hmm. Like that
Yes.
Curiosity to seek out the unknown, that explore nature that you possess, that's nature. Mm-hmm. Like, that I don't think you can teach somebody that, to crave to learn something. But I think what's fascinating about you is you don't limit that to the lane that you are most comfortable in exercising that muscle. You will go to Harvard. Mm-hmm. That shit's intimidating. Mm-hmm. You'll go outside of the space that you are most comfortable with to learn from other industries, other brands, other verticals, and then go, ooh, I love this. How can I take this back to the place that could use it too? I feel like as a marketer, that's why like I've jumped around so many industries, because it's a joy to take from QSR, right? Quick service restaurants. Like, what's Burger King and McDonald's doing, and how does that apply to an animal pharmaceutical company? Yeah. I just did a workshop for them, and I'm talking about like Home Depot. How does Home Depot have anything to do with, heartworm products for your dog? Yeah. But it does. And so sometimes, like, when you don't do that and you just put this horse blinder and you don't look outside of your space, you diminish any type of originality, because it's rinse and repeat marketing strategies over and over and over again if you stay in the same conferences. Yeah. So when I saw you at the gathering and you're like watching me talk, and you're watching Xanthi Wells from Pinterest give her presentation on how, Gen Z is using Pinterest versus our generation that would do it project basis versus interest based. Like, you're literally watching and observing like a student. Yeah. That's humility. But then you also make a bold comment sitting there like, yeah, I'm in the same league as Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs. Yeah, 100%. Sir, that's very impressive. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to reflect that. I can't hug you right now.
Yeah.
You're therapist. You just need to hug. Yeah. But like, legitimately, words of affirmation are my love language. I can affirm you all day. But like, it is very impressive. And again, back to your question, I think that's more nature than nurture.
100%. And I think another thing that we should pay attention to when we trying to figure out if we're an entrepreneur or not, we have that spirit, is fearlessness. Because like, when you talk about like Harvard and, walking in certain rooms, a lot of times, I don't even think about it. Mm-hmm. It's a fearlessness. Like, even when you go on the field, it's a fearlessness that you have to have. Mm-hmm. And then in retrospect, I'm like, holy shit, like, what was I think? That's the delusion. That's the, got to be off a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Delusion.
Yeah, it's like.
Yes, narcissistic traits. So I wouldn't say a narcissist.
That's a whole conversation.
But I do think that a lot of entrepreneurs will have narcissistic traits because it is survival. You have to be, if you can't believe in yourself more than anybody else, you ain't going to make it. You're going to get chewed out.
So that's so interesting.
You're smiling real big. Why?
Because
I'm not your therapist. Did this come up?
No, so when we going back to McLean Hospital, that clinical evaluation.
Yeah.
So I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Okay. Borderline personality disorder is like it's an emotional disorder. Okay. Right. And you have to learn the skills and tools needed to get to self-regulate. Right. That's where dialectical behavior therapy, self-assessment, mentalization, cognitive, all those group therapies come into play. Right. You're learning those things. But the other thing I was diagnosed with was narcissism. But I thought this part of the evaluation was like, so off because she was asking me questions like, are you great at what you do? Are you one of the best? And I was like, yes. Like they say it on ESPN.
Literally.
Brandon Marshall, Larry Fitzgerald, Andre Johnson. Like, yeah, I'm top 5.
Yeah.
At what,
like.
So, but that's interesting. I feel like in this phase of my life, because that was a little over 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I need to unpack that a little bit because I think there's definitely something there. It's like a belief, unwavering belief that you have to have.
You have
to bring something great into this world.
Yeah.
And so if that's what it takes, I'm for it. But I do believe though, like, and Steve Jobs went through this as well. You have to have people. People are everything. So I'm big on culture. I'm big on emotional intelligence and learning this in this phase of my journey, right? Like understanding myself, understanding how, that.
Okay, let's talk about this because this is where most entrepreneurial personalities, characters, figures will fold. Yeah. Because they can be a visionary all day long, but as soon as they are put in a position to lead others, and most of my clients that I work with, they will verbatim say, but I hate managing people.
Yeah, it's everything.
But it's everything.
I'm over-indexing right now. I was so focused on product that I wasn't managing people, and my business came crashing down. So I'm in a process of rebuilding everything. And so I'm over-indexing on people and then process, and now we're about to get to back to product. So I'm over-indexing there. So what I did, going back to sports, I have a notebook of all of my head coaches and owners. Like when I was in those meetings, I was like, yo, I'm gonna use this. So I was like, looking at how businesses ran at that level, meeting cycles, management skills, etc. Right? So like my management, my perfect style would be Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll combined.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
Mike Tomlin has been really interesting over the last couple of years. I got to figure out how he will play into, the evolution of me. Yeah. But I was in those rooms. I'm seeing it. I played for Pete Carroll. Yeah. Right. So when I was there, I literally have notebooks on, look how Coach Mark Trestman handled this situation. I love this. I loved how
you took notes.
Yes, Coach Trestman, Pete Carroll, Shanahan, like all of my head coaches, owners, all of that. I thought it was fascinating. So you have to lead people, you have to manage people, you have to understand your style. So the best part about the entrepreneurial journey is not what you're building, is who you're becoming, right? So last couple months ago, I started to write this book. And it's on disruption, it's on startup. Like when you read all the best business imprints, it's like do X, Y, and Z to get here. Yeah. There isn't anything out there. There's a lot of books on startup, but there isn't a lot of books, at least for me, that I've connected with that helps the entrepreneur understand themselves. Because if you understand yourself, then you can articulate that to your team and understand who you need to get it from startup phase to the next phase. And so I started writing this book on that. Like before you can disrupt whatever you're trying to disrupt, you have to disrupt yourself. That's where the self... You understand?
Well, I feel there's a lot. Yes, I feel like and there's
that goes back to your place on your people management.
Yes, and I feel like there's a lot of books that will teach you how to scale an organization. Like there's a whole catalog.
There you go.
And like they're wildly popular. Traction. There's a couple different ones that I could quote. But what I have found to be lacking in those go-to diehard
to great
books,
built to
all of that, the E-Myth, all of that, right? Like what I find lacking in those volumes or in those bodies of works is the conversion to personality-led organizations.
There you go.
That's usually the disconnect. A lot of those books are written for faceless brands that scale.
But aren't all businesses and companies personality-led?
No.
Wow.
Apple is Apple, right?
Okay.
I understand that Steve Jobs created it and Wozniak and all that. Like, I understand
No, I know where you're at.
the
But what I'm
birth
saying from
story.
a management standpoint, right? Like, we follow who's leading. So it's still, you understand? So I go ahead.
But the visibility that personalities have today
Yeah.
versus then, because of the accessibility of all of this
Yeah.
and all of this, doesn't even come close to when those books were written.
So it presents new challenges.
1000%. Elon Musk is a really interesting example, like literally happening in real time, because the original buyers of Tesla were what? Eco-friendly, environmentally conscious drivers. That's why they bought Tesla. That was like how it went out to market.
Yep.
Yes. Now, what are people associating the Cybertruck with? MAGA.
Really?
Because why? Because Elon Musk and Donald Trump are besties. So this is fascinating to me. You, not to say that like Elon Musk doesn't have these entities that are like not faceless, but really he's so like, the valuation of the stock of these companies would go down the drain if he were to be removed.
Yeah.
He's done some shady stuff where he almost had his hand slapped. Like we still can't take him off the board because his personal brand equity would diminish the equity of the stock.
That's right. That's right.
Literally.
That's good.
So it's fascinating. And that's what I'm saying. Like these books that you're talking about that are lacking, I can understand why you're saying it, because what you've built has been on the backside of your personal brand equity, in my opinion, because you're still the face of the podcast. You're still the face of the brand. And so like, I don't know if you've had conversations, and I mean, I'm not consulting you, but like, I don't know if you've had conversations.
It's free consultation right now. Go ahead, give it to me. Come on.
That like have further or more clarified, like just defined your brand versus your personal brand, and like how one feeds into the other and all that fun stuff. Anyways, but from a team perspective, it gets harder too.
Yeah, and there's also a conversation now around like every company now should have a personality,
Sure.
right? And you know, the content, all that matters, right? We're challenging our leaders to get out front even more.
Yes.
So that's definitely a conversation.
But it's risky.
It is very risky.
Jared from Subway.
I hate it.
What happened to Jared?
It's not even risky from that. Yes, that's like, yes, you have that risk.
Yes.
The other risk is like, I would prefer to be behind the scenes, because when you're leading publicly, some people like you, some people don't, which could, and especially like in the content game, in the content space, there's a separation between who I am in front of the camera and who I am off the camera, right? Like, especially when you get in debates about sports and different topics, some people are going to take that, right? Let's say people you want to do business with, partners, and they're going to look at that person opposed to the person behind.
Yeah, in the boardroom.
Right? They're going to see that and not, they're going to see the creator and not the business person. And that's created some challenges for me. So I actually prefer to be off camera, because I feel like I could be more dynamic.
I was going to ask you, you brought it up earlier, nervous system regulation. I work with a lot of content creators, and content creator burnout, fatigue is real. You are prolific. You are producing your own content. You are on other people's content platforms. Like you are a very busy person. It fascinates me that you're like, I would prefer not to be. How have you sustained this long, being so public, so in front of the camera, so prolific? Like, how do you charge your batteries, literally? I ask this question a lot with other marketers as well. Like, what works for you?
Burnout and those things where you just don't have it, the juice, the gas is, for me, I find when I don't have that, it's because I'm doing things that I don't love.
Okay.
Or it's not aligned with my purpose.
Okay.
Right? So that's why I get so drained. Like, this conversation fuels me. Talking about,
I can tell you're getting spicy.
Meaningful things, it fuels me.
Okay.
Talking sports, it doesn't fuel me, it drains me.
Oh.
Right?
Interesting.
In the past, when we talk about just like capacity, I was in therapy with so my ex-wife and my therapist for a year. They were like, Brandon, you have to choose.
Oh, no.
right? I was on FS1 doing a 5-day-a-week show. Our platform just blew, just popped, right? We're doing a weekly show. We started doing a series with NASCAR. I was filming a Path to the Draft type show called Going Pro, where all the college guys that was training at our facility, getting ready for combine in the NFL draft, we were capturing it. So we did a 6-part series. We sold to Fox. We were shooting Girls Going Veg, 2 professional soccer players teaching people how to prepare vegan dishes and over a dope conversation. We are launching I Am Athlete LA. We're doing I Am Athlete Women. And so we were really getting after it. And so it was a real thing. And my therapist was like, you have to decide. And so I had to burn the boats. And I said, all right, I'm going to let this thing go, because there was a lot of time into that to focus on building I Am Athlete. And I was walking away from $1 million as an entrepreneur. So I was getting paid actually $875,000 to do this 5-day-a-week show, which was cheap. They did the deal in the outside the pandemic. So they got me for cheap.
They got you for a deal.
But think about that as an entrepreneur, where every dollar counts.
Well, yeah.
And you have to make that decision like, all right, I have to let this go, because if I put all my energy into this thing, then the reward is going to be greater than that sacrifice of not having that money, that extra money, or that space, that freedom. So it was that was a big moment for me. When we talk about capacity, we talk about burnout. Now, I am being an athlete. You understand structure, you understand routine. So now it's like Monday through Wednesday, this is when I'm shooting my content. From 11 to 1, I'm doing 2 hours of content a day. We have car wash content. When you walk into our space, our team it's just like a machine.
Yeah.
And it's taken 3 years. That's the process, right? So we know this, right? Fundamentals, people, process, then product. Well, you got to add things. As a CEO, your number one job is to keep the company funded. Right? So you got to add paper, right? So you got paper, and then you have people. So right now I'm found like, this last 8 months or so, I'm mastering that. I got that down. Starts with yourself. I'm finally getting to process. So when I talk about walking into our studio, when I tell you it's a machine, it's a machine.
I believe you.
It just, like I'll have an athlete, an artist walk in, or even myself, and we'll pump out 20 pieces of content. We have our post process in place, how things are being, put into our system, being cut, uploaded, etc.
Yeah.
And so that process is extremely important, but that helps with consistency, not burning out, right? So I know when I'm working out, when I'm eating, when I'm sleeping, when I'm shooting content, when I'm leaning into branding and marketing, right? When I'm leaning into management, right? When I'm leaning into, what else? Finance, right? So like, I got to look at a freaking boring P&L, right? I don't like that. So that's like the toughest thing for me when it comes to business, but that's in schedule.
Yes.
So there's so many things that's just in my routine.
This is what's funny to me. This is what I mean when I was saying earlier, like if you knew what entrepreneurship was, a lot of people wouldn't do it. Because I think the misconception is you go into entrepreneurship to be your own boss, set your own hours, do what you want, laptop life. And when you start having conversations with entrepreneurs that are real, that have had wild success, they are the most disciplined, regimented. The calendar is everything. You're working out at 5 a.m. You're doing your cold plunge at 6:30 in the morning. Like I've become that crazy person.
That's right.
And I still have the kids, and I still can do that like lifestyle too. But it's just funny to me. People don't realize what you eventually become is like a machine. Like it's wild.
You have to. You talked about my nicknames. I gave myself that nickname. It was Beast.
Yeah.
Charles Jaworski gave me that one, and then like halfway through my career, I was like, I don't want to be the Beast anymore. Actually, it was some more therapeutic stuff. I was like, I'm a machine now, machine marshal. So I became machine marshal, but you have to be a machine.
Yeah.
An entrepreneur that's on it, they'll have more things done by 9 a.m. than most people get done in a
100%. You want something to happen, give it to a busy person.
That's right.
100%. I completely agree. Okay, can I take a shift with you? This is me being selfish. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
So I'm obsessed with identity marketing, as you know, which is not the same thing as brand identity, right? Brand identity is the logo, the colors, the choices, your gift wrapping. It's in your control. It's fun. Identity marketing has nothing to do with you at first. It's everything to do with the identity of the consumer. Harley Hog, not Harley Buyer, right? So because I'm obsessed with sports. And it goes beyond just like a cute community name, which I think a lot of people are like, oh, the name of your community. I'm like, no. This is an identity that people will be buried in.
Oh, yeah. I love this talk when we were in Canada.
Yeah.
You're talking about Taylor Swift, right?
I talk about Swifties.
Yeah, the Swifties. I love this.
Okay.
Yes.
So I've noticed this is starting to go hand in hand with the podcasting world and the media world too, right? So like Call Her Daddy.
Yes.
Daddy Gang.
Yep.
Right? I think Joe Rogan's is like the Army. New Heights with the Kelsey brothers. 92%ers, right? Even now with Kylie Kelsey having a podcast that's like she had Michelle Obama on the show. Are you joking?
Yeah, right.
She's actively today polling her people on what they want to be called and what it means to them. It's fascinating to me to watch this.
That's right.
So I've seen that, like people who buy Jeepers. Like I've seen this for a while, right? Do you eat the Chomps, like beef jerky bars?
No.
They're called Chompions.
Oh, really?
It's a whole thing. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Again, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But like what I've noticed is that some of the biggest players that are purpose driven, that are value driven, are also leveraging this. I don't even know if they know what they're doing, but like Patrick Mahomes has the Mahomies. And then I think there was like Grok Nation. No, who has it? Lamar Jackson. I think he has like Flock Nation.
The Ravens.
Well, yeah, right. Well, yeah, and then there's a team level, right? Chiefs Kingdom, Bills Mafia, like, yes, of course, at the team level, but I'm talking about individual players.
Yep.
And so when we're talking about what players could do better so that they are treated like equals at a conversation, that they are treated more than just like their audience, but like the co-creation process, all of that stuff, I'm like, identity marketing, they could leverage this. Like, how do you elevate the financial conversation if you can also elevate the depth of relationship you have with your audience? So it's not just Brandon Marshall, 500,000 followers, obviously more, but it's Brandon Marshall who has the beast or whatever, and what it means.
It's a movement.
Okay, Lady Gaga just did this. Did you see her press tour?
No.
It's one of my favorite things I've ever seen. So normally when an artist is releasing an album, they'll do like the press circuit, right? It's normal. They're omnipresent as much as possible to get the word out that the album's coming. Duh. And normally the artist is inviting the press to come, and just like the Kendrick Lamar thing, like the press is there asking him questions about his halftime show, right? She didn't do that. She invited the Little Monsters. The Little Monsters were the press representatives. It was her most diehard fans that were in the room with prepared questions asking her. And it was a partnership with Spotify. So Spotify sponsored this Little Monster press tour. The clips have been incredible. The questions from these fans are like better than even the press questions because they know her so intimately.
That's really good.
How genius is that?
That's genius. I love that.
I felt like you would like that.
No, that's wow, that's a lot. I wanted to go back a little bit, identity marketing. It was in Canada when
The Gathering
when I heard you speak on this, where I was like, oh, I'm missing it. Right?
Thanks.
Yeah, listening to you, I was like, we've been in process for like 3 years.
Yeah.
What's our name?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
Right? I've been stuck in free consultation right now. Maybe help me out, because I am athlete, and so everything to me is like athlete. I want to say squat, like squat. It's like it's not right. It doesn't feel right. And we have this show called Paper Route, and
that's new.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a daily show that I was trying to build that failed.
Okay. This is
trying to crack this daily. That's the only thing I haven't cracked.
Okay.
On my platform is daily, but Paper Route was it. I'm gonna bring it back. It's going. Because it's brand. I'll tell you about how I, create these brands. I don't create podcasts. I create brands.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring it all together. Trust me. We'll come back to this like 3 years from now. You're like, oh, he's yeah. Right now, it's tough. I'm like, But we have our chat, like that Paper Route squad. They're like trying to figure out their name. Yeah, we're trying to figure out their name. But no, I still haven't figured that out yet. And that's extremely important.
Yeah.
It's extremely important.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they take ownership.
That's a movement.
There you go. That's it.
That's more than just community.
There you go.
I think a lot of people think, oh, community marketing. No.
Yeah.
It's not community. That's, again, I'm not a shallow marketer. I don't like gimmicks and hacks and all that. I don't like it. Either do something in the deep end of the pool or don't even bother.
Yeah.
But that's just more like my personality anyways. So
it's organizing
for you.
Yeah. Thank you. It's organizing. I love what Lady Gaga, what she did as
Go
genius.
home and see what she did.
Yeah.
It's genius. But it was also a brand deal. She did it with Spotify. So like, look at that trifecta where she engaged the little monsters and it was still a brand deal.
That's right. It's audience, it's numbers, it's reach.
Yeah. It's all the check marks with more like heart.
That's right.
More value, more purpose. All those things I know are like deeply rooted for you.
That's right.
I could talk to you forever.
Yeah.
I won't because I know you have a life. So we do this fun thing on the podcast because just so everybody is aware, I didn't send any of my questions. You didn't know what I was going to ask.
No,
today.
I was waiting.
Zero. You just were such a good
I hate
sport.
when people do that for me and they're like, hey, can you send me over a question?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, bro, just
Yeah.
come.
Yeah. I promise you'll be safe, psychologically safe. But I do this fun thing because I think it's only fair. Like I've asked you every selfish question that I wanted to ask plus some, like literally plus some. And so I like where the guests actually will get to ask me the last question of my show, which is fun. So I leave the last question, which is always like, now I get nervous.
All right. This is great. I love it. All right. Any question?
Yeah.
All right. Can I get two?
Sure. You can get two.
All right. The first one is I'm struggling to develop my personal brand. I've done a great job building business and our business's brands. And I'm struggling to do it for myself. Like I never looked at myself as a brand, right? Now I am, right? People know me when I travel the world now. And people are like, oh, you're the podcaster. It brings me the greatest joy because, you know, that's when you know you're doing something cool, when people are talking to you about the thing that you're doing now, not the thing that you did before. And that was a big thing, like football. Yeah. So I get 90% of the people that talk to me about that.
Of course.
So how do I, like, when you see how do I bring it together? What do you see outside looking in?
So I think the misconception around personal branding is that your present contribution is the definition of your brand. It's not. So like, then you were player Brandon, right? You'll forever be an athlete, but like specifically active playing player. Now, okay, you're a podcaster, you're a media personality. And then when you write your book, add that to the list. You're going to be a book author. All of those things are not competing for your personal brand. Your personal brand sits on top of all of it. So like why I think personal branding is so difficult. One, you've constructed this maze of business opportunities. Like if I looked at your P&L, it's probably very diverse in all the forms in which you receive revenue and that you have your contributions in the world. So I don't want you to make the mistake of defining your personal brand with the titles that other people append to you to put you in these boxes. It's almost like we don't do identity marketing anymore, which is like demographics. Like you're not a 40-year-old so-and-so, like none of that. We don't do that, right? So your brand is not going to be those labels. Your brand is like the red thread through that maze. So like, regardless if you were a player, regardless if you were a mental health advocate, regardless if you're a podcaster, a TV personality, a book author, a doctor, I don't care what you'll do 10 years from now knowing you, something awesome. But like, what was the red thread through all of that? What was it? Or what is it that actually is the thing that holds it all together? That's the bigger story. That's the umbrella of the brand's meaning.
So is it mental health? Like, what is it?
It could be. It could also be the athlete.
So I'm enjoying business.
You're a business owner. Let's add that to the pile.
Because even when I think about personal brand, I'm like, damn, do I turn into, like brands want to pay me to travel, right? So I can be like this cool, you know, do I go there?
Yeah, food critic. Now you're a traveler. Like, I mean, there's...
which I would love to travel.
Add 20 more things because you are creative and you pursue different passions at any given... Like, you're going to change as a human being. Of course we're changing. But like, if you were to zoom out at 80-something years old, what was the thing that all of them shared or had in common that lit you up from, it's like almost like the light in all of those bulbs, if that makes sense. You're going to turn on more bulbs, but what was the light in each of those?
It's so interesting. I'm glad that this is very helpful because like there was one point where, you know, the content that was on my personal pages was the same on my business pages. And I was like, I gotta, it's not, it's not who I am. It's not all of me, I should say, excuse me. So yeah, I'm in that process now trying to define that and how I want to show up in the world.
You love therapy. I love therapy. Are you familiar with IFS therapy, that model specifically? Okay. It's one of my favorites. It's probably my favorite, let's be honest. It's IFS stands for Internal Family Systems Therapy. It's a modality, just like EFT or EMDR or all these things, right? So the concept with IFS therapy is that each of us are composed of many parts. Have you ever seen Inside Out, like Disney's Inside Out?
That's my favorite movie.
Okay, so that's based off IFS therapy. They've consulted with IFS practitioners and experts to make that movie. So the idea is that all of us have angry parts, joy parts, sadness parts, but as an adult, you're talking like thousands of parts. And usually they remain the age in which they first appeared for us, which is why sometimes we act like kids, because that's when we needed that part to like protect us or show up for us, right? And so the practice of IFS is that it, with a certified IFS therapist, is they'll help you almost like software upgrade each of your parts. They're like, hey, we're not 16 anymore. We're actually 37 and we're thriving.
That's so.
But the tool that you gave me at 16, can we change it? Can we upgrade your tool? Because I don't need that same hammer. It's a great modality. But in this, IFS.
Oof.
But in this concept, you have all of these parts. And then there's what we call self, your highest self. Self is always calm. It's always collected. It's always in control. It's really the captain of the entire ship. Sometimes your parts won't recognize that self is there and they'll overfunction thinking she's not present or he's not present for you. And then they compete. So like, I'll be personal. I have a vanity part and I have a longevity part. Before my sister got breast cancer, I've always identified as a fit person, always. Cross country, kickboxing, all the things. But a lot of that was because I wanted to look a particular way or fit a particular size or weigh a particular number. And then my sister got breast cancer and like literally almost died. And now I'm a freak. I have a food app that scans every barcode on every food label to tell me what's carcinogenic. I sauna because it's a great detoxifier of your body. I cold plunge. I lift super heavy versus just like running for hours and hours.
Yeah.
Because the number one reason that women live as long as they do is muscle mass retention. So you had to lift really heavy. I never did that shit. I didn't know what a squat rack was, right? Like, what is that, right? I've completely changed. My identity is the same. I still identify as a fit person, but the source of that identity went from vanity to longevity, or so I thought, but they still compete with each other. I still have vanity and I still have longevity, and sometimes they forget that self is in control.
So good.
So that's now to your personal brand. You're going to have all of those parts in your personal brand.
Just tell me what it is real quick. If just throw it out there.
What do you mean throw it out there?
Real quick, just say boom.
Boom.
Or give me a comparison. Like how should I show up?
What I'm saying is you have all of those parts. You have player Brandon. That's
Give
part
me a
of
comparison.
it.
Give me a comparison. I'm a football player. Like I just love that. Like, oh, Brandon, you're built like Terrell Owens or this guy. You can run routes like that.
What I'm saying is your personal brand. You got to find yourself. What is the self?
I found it. Now I'm trying to like, how do I?
Well, distribution and like execution of it is one thing, but like
so much.
It's a lot. Can I make you feel better? As proficient, as good as I am as a marketer, because I've done it for 2 decades is all I know, literally, right? You can't read your label through the jar. So when you're in the jar of your own genius and you're so close to how awesome you are and how you think and all that stuff, you can't then be objective and say, well, what do I read on the outside? What does my label read? When you're actually very much behind the label in the jar of your making, which is why working with outside people that you trust to help you reflect is a requirement when you're talking about branding.
So good. All right, I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
Wait, and we're done.
Okay.
All right. So what are you building?
Okay.
And the last one is your ideal guest.
Oh, that's a good.
Not ideal guest. What's your dream guest?
I just had one.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Seth Godin.
You had Seth?
I had Seth.
You had Seth?
I had Seth.
Tell him I said, what's up? I love Seth.
He is the nicest human being. I emailed him, like, trying to do the logistics. I'm like, do you want me to work with your executive assistant? He's like, there is none. You work with me. I'm like, like, he's the nicest. Yes, if you want a connection, he is the nicest. If there was a Mount Rushmore of marketing legends, it's his face is the biggest. He's the GOAT. There's Donald Miller. There's Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, there's some other GOATs.
I know Gary.
But Seth is Seth.
All right, hold on. Let's see.
Period.
Let's see.
All caps.
Right,
and he's as lovely as you would think that he is. B Marsh, the beast, the machine. My friend, thank you for making this a possibility. When you told me, you're like, well, no, let's do it in person. I like, oh no, I'm nervous. I am. You know, this is my first podcast episode like this.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Really. So I actually want to thank you for pushing me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. This is your first one?
Because everything's virtual. Everything's virtual. Every guest I've ever had is virtual.
The reason why that's important to me now is because I have so much to say, and I want real connections. I want it to be organic, and it's time to get out of that virtual world. It's time to get back to this human connection, and that's the only way that what's supposed to create or the magic that's supposed to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like that statement earlier in the podcast, right, where I'm like, no, like that moment doesn't happen if we're not here.
Agreed.
So that's important to me.
Agreed.
You know, to get that out there in the world. No, I am the next Steve Jobs. I am the next.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I might be hiring somebody to help me set up a podcast studio.
There you go.
But
go.
Thank you so much for being on the Rainmaker Podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening today. If you've loved what you heard, make sure to rate the show, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us get the Rainmaker Podcast in front of more passionate marketers just like you. And if you're ready to transform your marketing from buy this to be this, pick up my new identity marketing book available on my website at veronicaromney.com. Until next time, my friends, keep making it rain.